Hey, what's going on? Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, and this is another edition of the Knicks Syndicate pregame show. I'm joined, as always, by George from Into the Knicks Verse. George, how's everything from you?
Excellent. Having an awesome day. Thank you.
Yeah, especially after that game against the Hornets, right?
Woo! That was a beautiful game. That was a beautiful
something
game.
to smile about, man.
Oh, yeah. Such a relief. Such a relief when they win and they actually execute the game well. We had an efficient RJ. Evan broke the three-point record. I'm sure we're going to get into all of that. It gave us a glimpse of what, as Berman says, what life might be like without Julius Randle.
Yeah. I mean, I liked what I saw out there on the court. What about you? I think we saw a team. We saw RJ. You said he was efficient. That's something we definitely want to see from him. We also saw other players step up as well. We got Sims, who played good in extended minutes. Also, Obi finally got high workload in terms of both minutes and players actually looking for him. So there was a lot of things from that game that we can really enjoy and actually analyze this team and see what we can do to get even better. So that, from a content creator standpoint, I think that was just great for me personally. As a Knicks fan, I was excited to see the guys go out there, and now we have something we can talk about.
Whew. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just it's the kind of game I expected to see more of all year long, to be honest.
Exactly. This is what would have happened if they would have listened to us.
Yeah, if they'd only had listened to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we could have saved the season.
We definitely could have. We don't have the prestigious resumes, but we understand basketball, and we saw what the Knicks were doing, for the majority of this season just wasn't working. So now we see Tibbs having to be forced into a situation where he has to play Obi as a starter. He has to give Sims some minutes out there. He has to get Deuce involved as well. We can't forget Deuce. I think this is
Deuce came through 3 or 4, and his 3-point shot looked good, looked confident,
looked pretty. Yep.
It looked like Westchester. It looked like Westchester Deuce.
Westchester Deuce. Yep. Yeah, he wasn't too tentative. He had a beautiful pass to RJ as well. That right-handed pass found him for the 3.
Yeah, that's all over the internet. That one. And then that one possession, I believe, was it 8 different passes to find Burks in the corner. I mean, the whole thing went around twice almost. That's how you win.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you win. I don't know why it's so confusing.
Yeah, you got to move the rock in this NBA.
Got to move the rock,
especially if you don't have any elite athletes on this team. We need to get that advantage by trying to attack a defense while they're rotating.
Exactly. If you don't have Kyrie, KD, Giannis, Ja, any of those guys who can get their bucket anytime they want. If you don't have a guy like that, you've got to move the ball. You can't pretend Julius is like that. You can't even.
He was like that last year.
He was like that, but the difference is that he made a lot of tough shots last year that are just not dropping this year. And historically they haven't dropped for him. So
yeah,
it's just something that it verified what we have felt all along about the young core. That's the best part about the game on the other night. I got to switch my glasses.
Fogging up.
No, those are my really up close reading glasses. These are my computer. These are my stylish computer glasses.
Oh,
for on camera.
For the viewers, I hear you.
For the ladies.
Yeah, for all 2% of them.
Yeah.
That's what makes up the viewership. 98% male, 2% female.
Yeah.
Want to give a shout out to John Talento. He says thumbs up, SVTV crew. Appreciate you. John. Thank you for tuning in. Also, he says, I love that starting 5. Facts. You got to play the youth, get them involved. I think he's talking about the guys that I have on the thumbnail. So that's Quick, Grimes, RJ, Obi, and then
I didn't
Sims.
see the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Big Task at Hand says, Vibe, so much to talk about. That's a fact.
What's up, Big Task? Good to see you,
Nudie 25 says, yeah. Thank you for tuning in, Nudie, one of the OG subscribers.
Yeah.
Connor Toolin.
What's up, Connor?
Thank you for tuning in. We got a bunch of things to discuss. And, the first thing I want to talk about is this Frenchman named Evan Fournier. Now, just, throughout the majority of the season, I've not been a fan, honestly. When we signed him, I think I gave it like a B- because I knew he was going to have some issues defensively, but he could shoot. And, he's shown us this season that he can knock down the three. He's, broke the record, most 3-pointers made in a single season by a Knick, beating out John Starks, who had 217. Fournier, he made his 218th 3-pointer last night. And, him being a sharpshooter, I think is definitely going to be something we can use on this team. There's value there. And, if you look at what he's done, the defense has been an issue, but the 3-point shooting has been, crucial in a lot of these games that we've won. So what have you seen from Evan Fournier so far? And what do you think his role will be with this team past this season? Because we got him signed for at least another 2 years.
We got him for at least another 2, but probably, or 3 if we want.
If we pick up the option.
Yeah, we pick it up. What we have been seeing since, just to pick a date, January 1st, December 31st. That seems to be the that game against that was against Charlotte, right? The 31st
On New Year's Day. I mean, on New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, I think, and we lost that game. Since then, the whole year he's been shooting well, obviously, or else he doesn't end up breaking this record. But since January.
Inconsistent, he has some games.
Totally. Yeah. He'll give you 6 points and then, 16 points. Like, it's such a big variation. But he, the thing is, wait, what was the original question? We got lost.
With Evan Fournier, what role do you see him, moving on with? What role do you see him with this team outside of past this season? Because we got him for at least another 2, barring any trade. And, we know what we're paying him. We know what he can do out there on the court. What do you envision the perfect role for Evan Fournier on this team moving forward?
I think the perfect role for Evan Fournier on a contending team is 6th man or 7th man, but like a high minutes 7th man. Minimum 20 minutes a game, because you got to give him enough time so that he can get the rhythm. Those moments where he doesn't have it right from the start, he needs to get.
Even though his first quarters, he's on point.
Hey, look, he could even be a 20, 22, 24 minute guy off the bench. That's his where he's a key piece of the rotation. He doesn't have to think about, how many minutes am I going to get tonight? What's going to be my role tonight? No, define it. But he's on a contending team. He's not a starter because of his lack of defense.
Yep.
And his defense, we'll get into it. We'll talk about some numbers and stuff. We'll get into that later on. But that's what I think is his role. So then I believe that the Knicks should do everything possible this offseason to add enough talent onto the squad to push Fournier into his natural role, which is that 6th or 7th man, preferably the 7th man, because the 6th man, you would want your 6th man to be more of a 3-level scorer in general. That's what you would want, someone, because depending on the night, depending on what's happening, get to the hoop when your team is not being able to break down the other defense. You want someone who can do that. And then you also want someone who also has the versatility to just light it up from the outside when that's what you need. So that's why I think he would be better, even though, according to stuff I read today, Fred Katz, excellent article in The Athletic, and also Mark Berman had a really good article about Fournier as well, since he broke the record, that he was originally, a guy who drove to the hoop. That was his original role in the NBA. He wasn't a sharpshooter. He wasn't a 3-point specialist. That evolved over time. And then Thibs has turned him into that even more so this season. And that took him a couple of months to figure out. And he even says it didn't start happening till around December, beginning of January. And now he understands he's not going to be doing a lot of pick and roll stuff that he did before, the curls and all that stuff. That other players are handling that. RJ, people like that. His job, a lot of it was to be that 3-point specialist, catch and shoot out on the line. But now he's worked some of that off-ball movement back in, which I think is making it easier for him light it up when he's on. And I love his fade away, his like fade to the side 3-pointers. The way he explains it is it's not a bad shot in terms of, because he practices that and his body is quiet when he does it. Like, he practices it. He understands the exact way to adapt his motion or adapt his shot to the motion. And we've seen it. I mean, he has really, especially those corner ones that you're like, what the hell? And it goes in.
Yeah.
And then you see Julius try it.
And it's like, ooh. Julius does it in the mid-range a lot. That was his go-to last year from, the right side of the court?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would agree with you, right around the 6th or the 7th man on this team. And you mentioned, this might be another reason why we should get rid of Tibbs. You mentioned that Tibbs is asking him to do, not to work so much in the pick and roll, but against the Hornets, we saw him, operate out of the pick and roll with some of these guys, some of our young bigs pretty well. I think you saw some of the
snuck that in about we should get rid of Tibbs.
No, but you're saying it to me. That's like, why is Tibbs telling him to not do that when we saw him do it against the Hornets and it was working beautifully? He was able to find guys like Sims and Obi when they were rolling or heading to the basket, and he made some nice passes. So I think that was what really kind of warmed me up to the idea of Evan being here long-term past this season. The fact that we're finally starting to see, or we finally saw that playmaking ability from him. When we signed him, I knew he could shoot. We knew he had poor defense, but it was the playmaking that really said, all right, even if his shot isn't falling, he'll find ways to affect the game in other areas. And, now, with Julius Randle out, the fact that we saw that, I would like to see a little bit more of it, especially since we don't have a legitimate point guard out there. Maybe we should let, Evan Fournier operate a little bit more in the pick and roll and try to find some of the guys.
It's happening. And I think a lot of that coincided with Kemba being out. I think that's one of the reasons why his role was so defined like that in the beginning of the year, because Kemba was supposed to be a pick and roll guy. It was supposed to be the guy who got those curls. Yeah. So like, everyone can't play the exact same way. Everyone has to have their certain roles. And that was a new role for Evan. But now with Kemba out and and then Burks is not a good pick and roll guy either.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's why I think what you're saying is it's actually happened naturally. And we're seeing that he's delivering. And I don't know, maybe Tibbs is also now encouraging it, despite discouraging in the beginning of the year. Let's hope. Look, only 4 players have made more 3-pointers in the NBA this season. Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, Fred VanVleet, and Malik Beasley. That's it. Fournier's 5th in the NBA. That is a lot of value, especially the tough ones that he takes.
Mm-hmm. Tough shots. And he's 5th while shooting 40% from 3 if you round up.
Yeah.
0.397. Right. So we'll give him the 40.
Yeah, we'll give him the 40. Let's give him the 40. Come on.
It's only right. Yeah. So how did you we'll move off from Fournier and we'll talk about some of the young guys. How did you feel about Sims with getting the start with Mitch being out? Did you like some of the things you saw from him? I know I mentioned him. He was 5 of 5 from the field. He made all of his shots, and he showed some ability rolling to the basket. He didn't have a lot of rebounds. What did he have? 3? But I think you saw Sims. I don't view him as a starter during his career, but as a backup big, being asked to step up into that role, I feel like he filled it in, admirably. So if we're able to keep Mitch and bring back Sims, not bring back Sims, but bring back Mitch and keep Sims, I think him coming off the bench is ideal for him. It's the perfect spot for him. And we've seen with a guy that's somewhat injury prone in Mitch, that Sims, when called upon, can at least step up and fill the role as a starting center in spurts. What were your analysis on Sims' game over the last 2?
I nothing that I've seen from Sims' game makes me doubt his ability to be an impact 5 in this league for years. Whether he's more suited off the bench or not, I think he's still relatively young. It's only his first year. I think for definitely the first couple of years in his career, he's a perfect guy to come off the bench to fill that slot. Maybe eventually he could evolve to being a starter. I don't know. But right now, the role that he's in right now as the number 2 center coming off the bench is perfect for him. He gives you that athletic burst. his hops are just crazy. He didn't do that great. He didn't get that many rebounds. You're right. He only had 3 last game. A lot of those I could see. Not a big rebounding beast, but I think he can do better than 3 a game for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with us is that we have RJ, we have Quick, we have those guys that can, help out with the rebounding. So to me, it's not that big of an issue. The reason
Obi had 11. I think Obi
had 11.
Took some of those rebounds that, a lot of times both guys go at it. One kind of lets the other one take it. So
yeah, and Obi has seniority, right?
Yeah. Yes, he does. Even though they're same age. I think Obi is older.
Might be.
Yeah, you're right.
But
24.
One thing though, when we have the pregame on your channel at Into the Knicks Verse, make sure you guys subscribe there as well, because you'll be hosting the next pregame. But there was a comment saying that there's not a big drop off between Mitch and Sims, and to me, I think the Hornets game, Sims played well, but you did see that there was a drop off. If you look at what the Hornets were able to do with their 2-point field goal percentages, I mean, they were able to get decent looks at the basket, and you don't really see that too much with Mitchell Robinson. And you look at the Hornets; they were able to shoot 67% on their 2-point shots. And I think if Mitch was able to be healthy and was in that game, he probably makes a bigger difference. He makes them shoot a little bit poorer, I believe, from the 2-point.
I agree with you. I get the nature of the intent of that comment. There's not that big a drop off, but there are in certain areas. In certain areas, there's huge drop offs, like the protection in the paint. It just doesn't have the block radius. It's instincts or radius. Great word that Mitch has. And again, also the thing we also have to remember is that everyone in the NBA already knows this, so they don't even attempt as many looks.
Yeah,
when Mitch is there, so his tremendous value is forcing them out of the paint by just being there, and that's something that can't be understated with Mitch. But Jericho, could he develop into something like that? I think he can, because his timing is pretty good. I think he could develop into a better shot blocker than he is currently.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say better than Mitch. I was gonna say I don't know, but yeah, he definitely could be a better shot blocker. He has the physical tools. Doesn't have as big of a reach, but the hops are there.
Yeah, definitely not better than Mitch. Not better, but yeah, he has the tools. They're there. He's only averaging like about a half a block a game right now, but he's only that's on 11 minutes per game, 10.7. Yeah.
I see. Also, Lex says, let's not forget he's a rookie. Facts. He's going to get better. I'm sure he'll get better, but I don't know. Yeah. I'm still torn on what his ceiling would be. If I had to make a bet, I think it would just be a backup big, but hopefully I'm wrong. When you cap some of these players on your team, you hope you're wrong.
Yeah. He looks like he's got more to him though. He's
got some nice footwork. Did you see that pass? I think he got it from Fournier and he put the nice little spin move on LaMelo. Was able to shield or protect the rocket and dunk. Yeah, he's got some decent footwork. He's got better footwork than Mitch. I will give him that.
Better footwork than Mitch. And when he does his gather, like you can see, he's like working it out, the footwork and everything, but he's doing it, lightning quick. Those are really nice talents to have.
Facts. Bricks Nation said future is bright without Randle. That's a Snapple fact.
Yes.
Well, speaking about life without Randle, life without Randle would definitely allow Obi to get more minutes. So what have you seen in the last couple games, the last game with Randle out and, Obi being able to be featured more? Because in the first game, Tibbs really didn't put Obi out there in the fourth quarter, decided to go with Taj. But, in this game, he made a complete U-turn and he played Obi 40 minutes. So we were actually able to see Obi out there and get a better understanding of his game and what he can be in the league. So how did you feel about Obi and his performance against the Hornets?
I thought it was tremendous. I thought he had a great performance, especially considering, I think maybe they ran one play for him, if even.
Something like that.
Something like that. So, and he still finished with 18 points, 8 of 11. He
started off hot.
Yeah, started off hot, hit 2 of 4 from the 3-point line, and that is crucial for him. must have that happen. So that was a great sign. I think also second game, he played the night before, and he played that even though he had the whole last 15 minutes off of that game, which was ridiculous. I think Obi is showing you the type of starter that he can be in this league. He may not be that lockdown defender, but he's an excellent off-ball defender. Help. He can come over, from the backside and help. His long arms. He's often deflecting shots, getting steals. Even though he was only credited for one steal, I know I would credit him for at least 3 other, situations where his positioning forced a turnover or a bad decision by the defender. He's showing he's coming along. He just needs more time. The guy just needs to play, and he just doesn't play enough minutes. So seeing him get almost 40 minutes was a fabulous thing, and then he delivered. So, you can't criticize guys when they finally get the minutes and they deliver. You can't say, well, let's see how much he can do it over a long stretch. Okay, well,
yeah, you can't keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like there's a sense of that with Obi.
There's a sense of that with a lot of the young guys. There's a portion of the fan base where they might not be too fond.
And I'm
of
not just
these young
talking about the
players.
Knicks in general. I'm talking about all NBA athletes. Kind of they get into that. They move the goalposts on that, but
yeah, that's the ESPNs and sorts. All right. Well, actually, let me talk a little bit about Obi as well. The 3-point shooting, him being able to knock down those 2 threes, I think was great, because if you look at those threes and a lot of those in both of those situations, the defense was hanging way off of Obi and pretty much trying to dare him to shoot if he were to get.
That's why he has to make those.
Exactly. So him being able to knock those down is going to be critical in the offense functioning, as it's supposed to function. And, if he's going to continue to do that and raise his 3-point percentage, I think right now it's right around 24%. If he can get that to even just 34% from 3, I think it'll change the way defenses respond to him and guard him out there on the court. And that's just going to open everything up. And when things like that, and when, the court is opened up, you look at Obi, a guy that can, move off ball well. He's probably the best mover off ball on the team. And with his athleticism and the floor spaced out the way it is, he's going to find himself a lot of opportunities. And, I mentioned it with Evan Fournier being a playmaker. If you have RJ out there with him, you have an Evan out there. They've both shown the ability to find him for alley-oops. You've been seeing in the last 3 or 4 games, RJ and Obi really starting to show a bond and some chemistry out there on the court, especially with the alley-oops. So if you have those 2 guys and you have an Obi Toppin, then maybe you can kind of get away with not having a great point guard and let those 2 feed him. And I'm excited to see how he looks again tonight, because Julius Randle won't be available. So this will be another big matchup for Obi. And I want to see him perform against another team that's in the midst of, or in the middle of a playoff push. Or not even push, they're already in the playoff. They're playoff bound at this point. So to go out there and to see him have another great game, I think that'll just give me, more of more confirmation that this team would be perfectly fine if they decided to move off of Julius Randle.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look, what we were talking about, Guy, we haven't seen enough of those baseline drives to the hoop by Obi for those reverse dunks or whatever. When he like slices between the defenders to the front of the hoop and he does the little finger roll and all. Though we've seen a lot less of those since his 3-point shot people have just sagged off him. Yep. So it's given him less space to be able to get past that defender to be able to make anything happen. So that's why that 3-point shot is crucial. Those corner threes I'm talking about. He's got to hit those consistently. And now that when he does, it just opens the whole game up for him, the whole floor up for him.
Yeah. But, he has to hit the corner threes, but Tibbs can't just stick him in the corner. We've got to see a lot more movement. And we saw some of that in the last game. There was a nice pass from Burks. I forgot who was guarding Obi. I think
he's shooting, according to Cleaning the Glass, he's shooting 29% from the corner 3. Now, Cleaning the Glass scrubs out garbage time. Yeah. And that's the same that he shot last season, 29% from the corner. But it shot a lot less attempts. That's interesting. I didn't realize that he was that close.
Yeah.
Huh.
We'll see. Though.
His non-corner threes are way down from last season. Last season he was at 30%. This season he's at 19%.
And with those kind of shooting numbers, they better be down.
Wow.
You shooting like that, man. You really shouldn't be chucking up any type of three.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move from Obi and let's talk about our guy Emmanuel Quickley. We still have the debate whether or not he's a point guard, but what we can say, definitively is he's really flourishing in the role he's in right now over the past, what has it been, 10 games or so? How have you felt about Quick? I know you're firmly in the camp where you say, Quickley is a point guard. How have you felt about his recent performance?
I'm firmly in the camp of playing Quickley as the starting point guard on this team right now. And I've been that for over a year. For over a year, since back in February, since right before we traded for Derrick Rose. I felt we should have done this. And I'm going to say, I think it was a total mistake that we didn't do it. I think this entire franchise could be in a completely different situation if we had. Even if he's not the prototypical point guard, but even Thibs says BS to that. Even he says there's no such thing as traditional point guards in the NBA anymore. There's combo guards
because he can then sweep Burks under that too. They can pair the both of them and try to
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the courtroom. You can use a witness's words against them. That's the beauty of the courtroom. Exactly, Thibs. So that's why you should use Emmanuel Quickley. The team just looks different, looks better. When Emmanuel Quickley is on the court, the team, that unit looks better than the other unit. It just look better. And sometimes just the eye test is enough. But when you look at his stats in terms of how he helps all the other players, it's tremendous. He's a tremendous benefit to everybody else. In fact, I'm going to pull up some lineups numbers here. Right. How about you? I know you and I are similar in terms of our love of
I'm wavering a little bit on Quick actually being a bona fide point guard, but I agree with you, and I do think he's the best option we have right now to run point, and I think he should be starting over Alec Burks hands down. Now, with Quick, even when he's, if you look at it, he had 7 assists in the game yesterday, 5 rebounds. He shot 4 of 9 from the field, and he had 10 points. So he's been a spark plug off the bench. I wanted to see how he'd be able to respond or play without Derrick Rose in that second unit with him. And to start, it was a struggle. But recently, he's definitely been stepping up his game. And I like to see the growth from him. And, even when his shot wasn't falling, he was able to find ways to affect the game, whether that be his rebounding or his assists. And the fact that he's able to have such high assist to turnover ratio. That's the correct way, right? Use a high assist to low turnover ratio. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had to double check real quick. So so with him being able to play like that and play smart, even though I think his vision isn't where I would want it to be for a point guard, and that's what kind of gives me pause when it's like.
Do you think that could be something he could have developed over the past year if he had been?
Well, that's why I was against the Derrick Rose trade in the first place. I didn't want the Derrick Rose trades initially because I wanted Quick to at least be given that opportunity to thrive as a point guard first. And I knew once we brought in Derrick Rose and he was going to be the backup point guard, it was going to force Quick to now play the 2. So if he was able to take those minutes last year and try to get a better handling or a better understanding of being the point guard for this team, then maybe we might see him this year and he would have, might have a little bit better floor vision, but I know experience is going to help certain things, but being able to see the court is something you might need, 3, 4, 5 years. It's not something that's going to happen just over one season, especially when you look at Quick and how he's wired. He's wired to score. He's not really wired, I think, to go find and set his teammates up. Even though we are seeing some moments out there.
We're seeing some of that, though.
Yeah, there was a play between Quick and Sims in the game, and I think it was Montrezl Harrell got caught on a switch, and I believe it was what's his name? What's Miles? Oh, damn, I'm
Miles
losing his
Miles
name.
Bridges.
Yeah, Miles Bridges. He was able to force
Were you going to
Montrezl
say
Harrell
McBride?
to step up. Yeah, I was gonna say McBride. He was able to force Montrezl Harrell to step up and stick with him, and he also made Miles step up and also try to guard him. And he was able to find Sims for an easy what was it, an alley oop. And I think those plays where he's able to understand what the defense is trying to do and attack them is what really gives me some positive vibes for
Yeah,
this for his development so far.
absolutely. And here are just some numbers, some data from Cleaning the Glass, which eliminates garbage time. So this is not counting garbage time. When Emmanuel Quickley is off the court, the Knicks have played 3,991 possessions, non-garbage time possessions. They are a minus 5.6 differential. That's for a 25%, in the bottom 25 of this whole league. And that means defensively, they're giving up 113.7 points per 100 possessions for a 36th percentile. Trash. Offensive is even worse. 108.1 points per game per 100 possessions for a 23 percentile ranking. Now, all possessions with Quickley's on the court this season, which is 2,892, about 4 something difference, right? 500 possessions difference. Not that, I mean, it's a good enough sample size. Almost 2,900 possessions. The Knicks are in the 85th percentile, the top 15% in terms of differential, a plus 6.7. Defensively, they're a 107.3, which is an 87 percentile. Offensively, it's not as dramatic, 113.9, almost 114 points per 100 possessions for a 67 percentile. That's a Thibodeau team. That's a Thibodeau team. So we have Thibs has actually put his own job in jeopardy by resisting the reality of this situation. And yet, I'm sure today, Alec Burks will start at point guard for the New York Knicks. It's crazy.
Also, I hate percentile. I hate percentile, George. I don't understand why they got to say 85th percentile. Why you just, like you said, top 15%? It's much easier. I've hated that since the SATs. I'm like, man, come on.
It's not. They're basically, we're a top 15 team in terms of overall efficiency when Obi's on the court. I mean, when IQ's on the court.
IQ's on the court. I hear you.
You know what? I'm going to do it now with Obi. I'm going to be curious what the numbers are with Obi.
Yeah, definitely. So while you look that up for Obi, let's talk about Grimes a little bit. I've liked Grimes since he's come back. We haven't really seen him get overused. I think that's something I was worried about with a guy like Tibbs, him coming back and being put out there in a situation where he's going to be in a position where he could kind of re-aggravate the injury. That's something I didn't want to see. This injury that he did have with his kneecap is something that does have a high likelihood of reoccurring. So the fact that he's not going out there and getting crazy. I don't think he's played over 20 minutes since he's returned. He played 15 against the Hornets. Yeah, I don't think he's played over 20 minutes.
And that's fine. Look, when I heard about this
17,
injury,
14, 12, and 15.
Yeah.
Bring him back slowly.
We talked about this a lot. When we saw this injury, we were worried. It's a weird injury. I've had a lot of knee issues. In fact, knees are what I had to quit.
Tennis.
Like a serious tennis. Yeah, exactly. Because the weird thing is, like, the minute you start feeling good, you start putting even more pressure, more torque on there, and then something happens, and then the next time something happens, then you start. It just changes your approach. It changes your physicality. It takes a little bit of while to develop that confidence in your knee again, and that might be where he is. And also, he just he wasn't able to play for what is about almost 3 weeks, right?
Something, yeah, I think he was off about 3-4 weeks, almost a month.
Almost 4 weeks, I think. Yeah. So that's a long time for a shooter. Like he can't. So it's gonna take him a little bit to regain both his confidence in his knee. Hopefully, it
And his
holds
rhythm.
up, and his rhythm. Yeah. So he just needs to get more time, but you can see defensively he's still has an impact on the game, but not at the level he was before because of the same reasons with the knee.
You
So
don't
it's
want
going
to
to take him
overexert
a little
yourself.
bit. Yeah. How about you? How do you
Yeah.
feel about what you've been seeing from Grimes? What do you think? Because you know more about the knees than I do. I mean, what's your feeling?
I talked to my friend who's in sports medicine, and he says this is not really too big of an issue as long as it didn't completely skip the track. If it would have skipped the track, then that would have been an issue because then he would have had some injury, some aggravation to the tendons. And once it pops back in, and they are able to see that the tendons haven't been damaged to a certain extent, then you just have to give him some rest, throw a brace on him, and that's why you see him playing with the brace in recent games. So with that injury and knowing what I've heard from them, as long as it doesn't continue to happen, because the sports medicine doctor said it, also Wally said it, that's something you have to be
Didn't Wally
concerned
have
about.
it?
Wally had it. Yeah, he said he had major issues with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but but to me, it hasn't really taken away from Grimes being active out there, especially defensively.
Yeah.
He's still have solid rotations. He's still closing out well, and as long as it doesn't sap any of his ability to do those things, then I'm not too concerned about the injury overall.
I have a question for you, Keith.
Yep, shoot.
When you look at this, Knicks get promising look, a potential life without Julius Randle.
Without Juju.
And it's so weird to think a year ago, he was an all-star on his way for a second team all NBA selection. Now we're looking at this and thinking, man, could we be better off without him? Or could we be better off without him? My feeling is it's a clear yes, based upon what we have seen this season from Randle, and when you compare it to what Randle has done historically in his career. Even though I do think that moving forward, because we talked about this last time, there's probably the real Randle in his prime of his career, which is he's entering into it now, is probably between what he is now and what he was last season, which is a pretty good player. But with all the other noise that comes with it and his style of play and his proclivity for forcing the issue with ISOs and not moving the ball quick enough and dogging it on defense and whining to refs, all that stuff. Maybe we would just be better with better by addition by subtraction with Julius Randle, and maybe we should just move him any way we can. What do you think? I mean, what's your feeling about that? I started asking a question, then I gave my take on it. But what's your viewpoint about all of this?
Well, I mentioned it before. I think a lot of the issue is coaching, because if we have a Julius Randle that was able to play, a similar style that we saw Obi play, I think the team would be more dangerous, because let's be honest, Randle at this point in his career is a better player than Obi at this point in his career. So if we were able to get a new head coach that can come in and try to take Randle and snap him out of his bad habits, then to me, I think that's the ideal scenario, as opposed to trying to move off from a Julius Randle and get him for what, 20 cents on the dollar. That's just my personal belief.
That would be a bad return. How about
80 cents on the dollar?
80 cents on the dollar. How about 80 cents on the dollar?
If we can make that deal and you can and this team looks the way it did,
I'm going somewhere with this
against the Hornets, then I'd be open to the move.
I'm going somewhere with this, and I already texted you about it.
Recently?
Yeah. Earlier today. It was, I asked you, I said, what if, let me find the exact wording so I can hear exactly. fuck, I can't find it now. So much text between us all. All right, here was the question. If we end up with like the 9th to 12th pick in the lottery, and
for Donovan Mitchell, the trade.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Randle, this year's number 1 lottery pick, plus a couple others, of course, for Spida. If the Jazz are ousted in the first round and Donovan Mitchell just says, you know what, guys, if you can trade me to the Knicks this summer, please do. And that becomes the deal.
I'm fine with that deal. I wouldn't mind it.
It would probably require,
Cam, which would be unfortunate, and that's something
Yeah.
I don't want to do. I try to hold out as much as I can to keep Cam, but if we can legitimately bring in a guy like Mitchell, and we have some other moves where we can help build up this roster after we deplete it to bring him in there, then yeah, I'd move off for Julius Randle for Donovan Mitchell. The way I see it, if I had to pick who I was going to move off of first, I'd move off from Tibbs before Randle, but I still think they're both major issues for this ball club.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, it doesn't seem like, I mean, I hope it's wrong, but it doesn't seem like Tibbs is
going
on the way out. Yeah. I think he must have done some, I don't know, done some praying, some deep praying. And they were answered.
Pictures of Rose.
Yeah, something.
Times back in the day.
Back in Thailand. Or something. I mean, given that Tibbs, let's say he's not going anywhere, I can't imagine another season with those two running this team. That's somebody the thing that's just freaking me out.
Somebody has to. But the thing is, you see how well Randle played, last year. If we, like you said, if we can even get somewhere in between what he's doing this year and what he did last season, I think this team is still somewhat pretty dangerous. And we would just need a coach that's able to put, RJ and Randle in the spots where they can play well together. I think Tibbs has shown during his 2 seasons here, that he has been able to do that consistently. And if we have somebody that might be a little bit better with the X and O's offensively, maybe we might be able to build an offense where it accentuates both RJ's talents and Julius Randle's talents. But you see Tibbs, he's enabled Julius Randle to be a ball hog, a ball stopper, and take poor shots. So it's really hard to get a good understanding of who Julius Randle could be in an offense where everybody's getting touches and the ball is actually flowing as opposed to sticking in one person's hands.
Yeah. Even those games where that is the offense and he's on the court and he's participating in it, then he'll come out in the third quarter and completely halt it all.
Yep.
And the other thing, John Asaro has a good comment here, which is really to the crucial point of what this is all about, because we only care about building a championship contending team here. Whether they actually win it all or not, that's going to be whatever. But if you don't put the pieces together to even give yourself a chance to be in the conversation, that's the first hurdle. I don't think Randle has the mental makeup to make it on a championship squad. I don't think he's championship caliber with any coach. That's what I'm seeing this season.
See, but you're seeing Julius Randle as the number 1. Now, if we were able to build up the talent around him, bring a quality coach, and maybe we bump Julius Randle from being the best player to maybe the 3rd player, and you have RJ,
you really think
second best player,
handle that? I think he'd still do the same bullshit, arguing, slapping laptops, and and eventually he will punch a priest.
I mean, honestly, George, that is a risk, but we haven't seen this Julius Randle before. He hasn't, at least from what I've seen throughout his years in the league, I haven't seen him act the way he's acted this season. So I can't assume that he won't be willing to take a step back. Now, it's definitely going to be difficult for him to take a step back, especially when he was the man for a period of time. So that's why it may be easier, yes, to give him a better or change of scenery. But if we can make it work where we can bring in someone or draft someone that can elevate, to being one of the best or the second best player, have RJ continue on his trajectory where he's, trending towards being the best player. I think we can still be, field a solid team, a playoff contending team. And then at that point, if we see it doesn't work, then maybe you can move off from Julius Randle and get even more than you would trading him now. And, we still have, 4 years on that deal. So there might not be another team with the way he's acting that's going to be willing to give us something to help potential rebuild. So.
And actually, just something Macri pointed out in his newsletter, Randle is not going to qualify for those incentives that hit the cap. It's not going to hit the cap. So his salary next year, which would have been 26 million plus in terms of hitting the cap, is only going to hit it at 23 million. That's not a bad number for the kind of production that he gives you for that kind of Randle. So that's true. Another thing just to point out in the chat, so we're talking about RJ and Cam for Spida. The thing is, Spida would say not for RJ because he's going to want to go play there.
Spida would say, I'm not playing only with Randle.
Exactly. So he's going to say, get me to if you can get me to New York with a good deal without RJ coming here, then I'm down for that. If not, then forget about it. You know what I mean? So it's not like these guys have the power to request that now. So, and if they can't make a deal, then they don't make a deal. But I'm saying he's not going to come to play with the Knicks without playing next to RJ. That would be the whole point for him.
Yeah, we talked about it during the last pregame. RJ looks like a player that other guys want to come and play with.
Yeah. And this is just the beginning for him. He's just scratching the surface, I think, in his playmaking abilities.
Yeah. Especially when his handle gets a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
Let's see. Justin L says a fun listen is the Gilbert Arenas interview where he talks about incentives and players' contracts. It was wild. What podcast was he on? I'll definitely go check it out.
Yeah. I'll check that out. He's always an interesting listen to. Yeah. Sometimes he annoys the fun.
Yeah, sometimes he's a little bugged out, but
yeah, he's a little.
He's entertaining. I'll give him that much.
He is entertaining. That is good.
So let's talk about a little bit more about RJ. We touched on him a bit as we were talking about life without Randle, but how do you see RJ performing if he no longer has to deal with the ball stopper that is Julius Randle?
Whew, that's a big question, man. It's interesting. This thought came to my head the other day, the other night. And I realized, I saw that nice chemistry between RJ and Obi developing because they don't really get that much time together. They are recently, but they don't. And RJ is utilizing Obi a lot of the ways that maybe utilizing is the wrong word, but what's happening on the floor between RJ and Obi is similar to what was happening on the floor between RJ and Zion when they were at Duke. RJ was the playmaker. RJ would break down the defense. RJ would find Zion cutting. And there was this dynamic between the two of them, lob threats. RJ would feed him the lob. You're seeing that. And we don't really see that with Randle and RJ. We don't see that interesting two-man game between the two of them. They'll pass it to each other, of course. They always do. But it's not like a great cut that RJ makes. RJ does try to feed Randle sometimes, and Randle cuts, but then Randle will stop.
There's no cohesion between the two.
Yeah,
it's your turn, my turn, your turn, my turn.
You'll wait to see what the defense. It's like, dude, you're literally a sitting duck. So you're waiting for the defense to come and collapse around you. It's the exact opposite of the point of cutting. You're supposed to take it in motion and go all the way to, or you make the next pass. That's actually the best thing. You cut, RJ finds you,
and when they rotate over,
and then you rotate, and then you, Fournier in the corner. I mean, that's a winning combination. So I like that. I think RJ. Wait, what was the question again?
You get so passionate about the Knicks that the question goes completely out your head. It was damn, the question went out my head too. It's RJ stepping up with no Julius Randle blocking him.
Yeah, well, I think his showing that his efficiency went up in the second game is a good indicator because even though the first game was against that was Utah, right?
First game, yeah, I believe it was Utah.
Yeah, without Randle.
Yeah. No, Atlanta.
Oh, it's Atlanta. It was Atlanta. And it took a moment because RJ rarely plays without Randle. I think it's only happened
Randle, that's
twice.
because Randle always plays.
Right.
What is this? His fourth game he's missed in the last two?
Yeah. So it took him a moment to figure it out, but I think the fact that his efficiency went up in the second game of that back-to-back, the second game after without Randle, shows that he can actually be a much more efficient player without Randle on the court. Randle takes up a lot of the same area spaces sometimes that RJ would like to take up. He doesn't keep the ball moving, which helps space the floor. Those are things that impact RJ negatively. So he does thrive. It does seem like he thrives when Randle's not on the court. And in fact, I will look up the exact numbers for that while you talk about RJ.
Yeah, I've liked what I've seen with RJ, and the fact that Julius Randle was taking us, had to take a step away from the team to deal with his injury, while RJ is continuing to blossom as a facilitator, I think, or as a playmaker, I think was perfect timing. We've seen him, even though he doesn't really have the highest assist numbers all the time, him being able to break down the defense, it really creates a lot of things, a lot of action off of him getting to his spots. And, I like the fact that we're seeing him start to finish, around the rim much better, because we know RJ, he takes some difficult shots. He's not uber athletic. He is a good athlete, but he doesn't have that burst that he's getting right by people repeatedly. So he's finishing through contact, he's making those shots, and he's picking up his free throws as well. So those things are definitely some pluses when it comes to RJ. And there was also, I mentioned the point about him being an athlete. There were a few plays where he showed some of the athleticism. What was that layup when he was able to drive towards his left hand, and as he was still heading towards the left side of the court, he was able to switch his body mid-air and come over to the left-hand side and make a layup. I think that was beautiful.
Was that he was like fading away, and
yeah,
and he's had a couple that was beautiful. Of those, man.
There was another one where he got fouled, and he was facing in the opposite court, got fouled, and was able to contort his body, turn around, do a little 180, and make the layup. That's a lot of core muscle. That's high level athleticism.
That's high level athleticism.
Yeah, so you might not see it in his speed, his burst, but he is a very good athlete, and I think in those situations you see it.
Yeah. Hey, remember we were worried that he was never going to be able to get past the defender.
Mm-hmm.
His rookie season. We're like, the guy can't. Thanks. He has no first step. And look how far he's come.
Mm-hmm. He's crafty,
very crafty, very crafty.
And he uses his elbow good too. He's able to kind of seal off defenders as he's driving, and that's what allows him to get to his spots out there on the court.
And the thing about him is, like I said, I feel like he's just scratching the surface. I feel like he's going to be that kind of guy who continually every year, like Kobe, in the offseason, developed a new move. Wasn't it Kobe who it was his mantra every year to develop a new move? One new move?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. RJ feels like that. I mean, look at RJ's numbers when he plays with Randle, unfortunately, because he has to play with Randle a lot. He's a -4 differential when RJ and Randle are on the court together. When RJ's on the court without Randle, all possessions this year, he's a +1.8. So that's almost a 6-point swing. That's dramatic. That's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, more reason that the team should be looking to move on from him in the offseason. I say move on from the both of them. Move off from Tibbs, and if we can get a good deal for Julius Randle, and another team sees the value in him and they're willing to give us something that can help us build, then yeah, move off from the both of them.
Leon has a good question.
Leon, who is the comp for RJ?
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
I've struggled for years now with this.
Yeah, he's a unique player because he's like a jack of all trades. He can do a lot of things. Doesn't have the athleticism. I'm
going to give a shout out to Foxy.
Go ahead.
Foxy said Kawhi Leonard.
Like
him. Not at his level.
Well, I was saying light, Lite.
Oh, light. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard light. Yeah. And remember, Kawhi Leonard wasn't what we developed at year 3. He wasn't that guy, but he like that kind of guy, like could develop into an excellent defender. Right now, he's a good defender. Unfortunately, he shared a lot of floor time with some very weak defenders, which severely impacted him. And guys that didn't even understand how to even the team defensive dynamic that Thibs puts out there. I'm talking about Kemba and Fournier the first 3 months of the season. So he could develop into being a plus defender, has the potential to be a top level defender. That's that. His size, he's 6'6". He looks bigger to me than 6'6". He's strong. He has just enough speed to basically get almost anywhere on the court that he needs to. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter that's still developing. It was a step down this season, but his volume went up from last season. But it's all trending in the right direction when you look at it in terms of the arc of his career. He has that very even keel, kind of almost cyborg-like demeanor that Kawhi has. He's
got more personality, though.
Much more personality. Yeah, much more personality. But I'm talking about in terms of his emotions and stuff.
Yeah.
He's maybe he's not the cyborg. He's the human version of the cyborg. He also his playmaking skills they're developing, and they're pretty sweet right now, and they're only going to get better. And I believe that his playmaking skills by year 3. I don't remember Kawhi too much at year 3. But I don't ever remember him being like a key playmaker for Popovich when he was in year 3. So in all those respects, a lot of people used to compare him to Harden, and there is some Harden to his game. But I think a Kawhi Leonard, like a B+ version of Kawhi Leonard, is what he feels like to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe like an A version. If like Chris Middleton was like a 5-star,
Oh yeah, Chris Middleton's a good one. Chris Middleton.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking before you brought up Kawhi.
Mm-hmm. But he has more playmaking.
Yeah,
Middleton doesn't. He can, but he doesn't do that much for others on the court. In terms of, getting good looks for other people, like creating.
He does some.
He does it. But RJ he'll really own it. He'll do it. Though sometimes when he gets those blinders on, he's like, I'm driving to the hoop. I'm gonna put a bucket up. He does decide too late to adjust sometimes, and that's something he's got to improve on.
Yeah, May 4th said he sees Caron Butler.
The high-level Caron Butler, the Caron Butler that Caron Butler wishes he could have been all his whole career, that's not a bad comp either. When Caron Butler had, he had 2 really good seasons, right? Like he could have, a couple good seasons, yeah.
George, man, we running out of time here.
The game starts.
We're like 10 minutes into the game. I can't even get to the next slide. Well, I'll leave that for you. Maybe if you want to, draw up your own individual video, you can use that. That way it's still fresh.
All right.
Hey, you're the one that found it. It's only right. So let's talk about the Heat real quick. They're coming off a little infighting as well. Butler and Haslam getting into it. That might be the only time you see Haslam step on the court, is when he's going there to confront Butler. Man, what did you think about that?
That's his cover.
Yeah. What did you think about that little skirmish?
It was weird. I didn't really dive too much into it, so I didn't read, but I just saw a little bit of it. And then Spoelstra came out and was barking at Jimmy.
Yeah, he threw down the blue clipboard. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, Spoelstra ain't going to take shit. He's like, I got rings. I got rings. You ain't going to tell me what's going to happen here, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, if you heard a little bit of it, Haslam was kind of screaming at Butler. He's like, we're not your enemy. They're your enemy. So I guess maybe there might have been a little fight in, and then Butler might have responded some way that Haslam clearly didn't like. And he said, I'll kick you, you know what? I'll wipe the floor with you. And that was crazy. So it'd be interesting to see how they, go from that situation to now trying to come and beat the New York Knicks. Tyler Hero, he's not available. Unfortunately for us, unfortunately for them. How are you feeling about the game tonight? You think we're going to win this one?
It's hard to always judge these things, but yeah, the Heat have been struggling a little bit. of recent. I believe that let's see, what are they in the past?
6-4 last 10.
6-4. For them,
Yeah, I
that's
don't know why
struggling.
that didn't carry over. I had 6-4 for both teams because that's both of our records over the last 10. Fucks it didn't carry over.
Look at the rebounding; it's really low.
Yeah, they have not been a great rebounding team.
They could also be like, bring on the postseason. You know, they could have gotten a little bored in the past 10 games.
Yeah, but you don't want to stumble into the
No,
postseason.
you
That's
don't.
bad.
You don't.
And
But it's
they
hard.
don't really, they're not like, yeah, Spo is a championship coach, but they don't have a roster littered with players that have won championships and are able to just flip
Only
the switch.
Kyle and PJ.
And yeah,
as far as key players.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 40%. That's 40% of your starting unit. So they have that championship.
40% of your starting unit, but only 20% of the entire roster of the entire rotation. So
yeah.
And then PJ, he's there defensively and to knock down a three, but outside of that, he's not really running the offense or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bucks are looking like they're gonna repeat in terms of getting back to the NBA Finals. It's looking like that. I'm the kind of guy where it's like, until I see it, until you show me you've got championship caliber, until you have a proven championship resume, I'm not going to anoint you as a championship squad. So
gotta earn it.
Yeah, gotta earn it. Heater.
Oh yeah, like the Heater.
Jericho Sims makes a 6-footer. RJ assists. There we go.
Oh, you're watching the ESPN play-by-play?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap it up there. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. George, thank you for co-hosting with me as always.
Absolutely.
Appreciate the
shout
support.
Out to the chat, man. It's been a great chat. I was looking at it. They were going at it.
Yeah, there was a couple sides. Yeah, May 4th is not the biggest Mitch fan. I got to have Inf pop up and have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
They're two like-minded individuals when it comes to Mitch. All right. So, George, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
I would love for Randle to rest a few more games. Just a few more games. Let Obi really develop and establish himself, and along with the rest of the team. And then Randle can come back for like the last 5 games of the season and show some nice production, end on a high note for him. That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. There it is. There it is.
I knew it wasn't just so Randle could feel better about himself.
Oh, absolutely not.
There was an ulterior motive there.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully Burks does that as well. We move off from Julius Randle. We move off from Burks. I think we got a
we didn't even talk about Burks today.
There's no need to talk about Burks. He's a vet. He is what he is. He's not going to get much better. We're talking about these young guys and what they can do, where their potential is and things like that. But once again, thank you, George, for tuning in. SV Nation, I appreciate you guys for pulling up and chopping it up with us as well, talking Knicks. Hopefully the Knicks can go out there and win this game against the Miami Heat. Nice. George, you have the next pregame, right?
Yes, Sunday.
When is that game?
Sunday is a 3:00 game for you guys.
Okay, so the pregame will be 2. And then I guess we'll double up, and I'll have Foxy on as well, and we'll do the Knicks Sunday stream at 8. So make sure you guys are tuned in for that. Subscribe to George
that works perfect.
The Knicks
you can do a post game and go right into your Sunday.
Well, hopefully it's not a post game. Post games don't do great when the Knicks lose. And so and if it's a post game, you're going up against CP and them, and I ain't trying. I don't want no smoke.
Or maybe later, later post game.
Yeah. I like my own little space.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But thank you guys for tuning in.
Sure. And check out the recap. I'll be dropping a recap on this game no matter what happens. Win or lose. Win or lose.
You want to give your sponsor a quick shout out before we wrap up too?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you haven't signed up for busr.com, the best sports book online, do it. You bet $1, it enters you into a chance to win $10,000, and they're going to announce the winner tomorrow. So if you put in bets tonight, you could have 10K in your account tomorrow. It's just automatic. It's pretty easy. So they're going to pick someone randomly. And it's been going on for about 2 weeks now. So it's closing tonight. So jump on it.
Yeah,
usr.com/. Yeah, someone's going to win.
Well, hopefully somebody that you set up wins.
I would love
They
that.
might give you a piece too. They win 10, give you a nice, $5K.
Look, I'd be happy with 1K.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 500, 1K.
Okay.
Yeah. But thank you guys once again for tuning in. I'm Keith, host of Sports Vibes TV. We go live pre-games, alternates channel. So make sure you guys are subscribed to both so you never miss a show. So once again, thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the game, and we're out.